It was very new for India. I think everybody told me that I'd fail.
Yeah.
And that's when I thought that my idea was a great idea. I mean, there were challenges when we had no diners in the restaurant. There were a table of 2 and that's it. People say awards are not important, but that put us on the map. And then there was no looking back.
Hi, and welcome to Big Food Energy, a podcast that spotlights some of the most exciting food businesses in India and around the world. Today, we're chatting with the owner and founder of Mask Restaurant, Aditi Duggal. Apart from being the first female restaurateur on the Asia's 50 Best list, she also owns and runs 5 restaurants in India. When Mask started in 2016, there was nothing like it. It made waves across the Indian restaurant industry. It was an elegant, fine dining, 10-course tasting menu restaurant that blended lesser-known local ingredients with global techniques. In a time-starved city like Bombay, Aditi and her team were convincing people to sit down for more than 3 hours and enjoy a meal. In this chat, I'm speaking to Aditi about what it takes to build a restaurant that competes on a global level, about how her middle child syndrome drove her to success, and about the time her mother ended up exporting methi masala to a restaurant in Italy. Hi, Aditi, and welcome to Big Food Energy. I'm so excited that you're here.
I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you, Smita, for having me.
We're going to get into it. Can you explain the concept of Mask to me like M5 for people who haven't been to Mask, for people who may not be familiar with Mask?
So Mask is a modern Indian restaurant. We're borrowing from culture, cuisine, regions that we're inspired by to build modern Indian cuisine. It's the only tasting menu restaurant in India. It's heartful hospitality, just as you would experience it in an Indian home.
So Aditi, Mask is one of the few restaurants that put India on a global map. Tell me, how did it all begin?
For me, it was really about connecting the dots. I have this crazy habit to take random pictures whenever I'm traveling, or I have about 100 diaries, and everybody makes fun of me I keep changing my diaries every day because most of it only includes my doodles and less bullet points on goals or any checklist, but mostly doodling. I think the idea kind of started out because I moved from finance to food, and food has really been ingrained. It's like really part of my DNA, the way I grew up eating. I think growing up in a vegetarian household, the way my mom and grandmother would combine ingredients, and that sort of always inspired me. Mm-hmm. It's been a melting pot of cultures, even within the household. So I started out with a catering business a decade ago, and it became a household name because the kind of vegetarian food we were doing really wasn't showcasing, say, in restaurant menus, or wasn't really available even in people's home, that kind of innovation that we were bringing to the table. And I started the catering company with my mother. And I think that blew out of proportion in very short period of time. And, in a very, very short period, I realized that I had to move it into a professional space because I couldn't manage it, being the entrepreneur, being the chef, being everything and trying to grow this business. And that's when I started to build a team. And frankly, that also, the fact that I could take that risk, etc., also came very naturally to me because being from a finance background and I think it's a lot to do with my upbringing as well. I grew up in a joint family. So I've always been this fighter and been given the wings even at home. Then decided to get a professional kitchen. And when I talk about connecting the dots is that we went for a food trip to San Sebastian, and I was blown away with just the experiences, the produce, the stories, the way they connected the dots, that when I came back, I had this random idea, and I told Aditya that actually, I don't think I want a catering company. I want to actually start a restaurant. And he was like, okay, but why would you shut a very successful business to start a restaurant that you don't even know anything about? Wouldn't it be so daunting? So he said, let's keep both. Let it run, do a restaurant and run a catering at the back of the kitchen because the space was large enough. And I think that's how the idea was sort of seeded. It was very new for India. I think everybody told me that I'd fail.
Yeah.
And that's when I thought that my idea was a great idea. and I had to go through it. Like I had to know whether it was a bad idea.
Was it hard to convince people to say, listen, this meal is going to be...
Of course, it was, I mean, like that was the hardest. It was so hard. I remember like literally when we started Mask, it was crazy. We were changing the menus every 10 days. Somebody doesn't have the patience to sit through 5 course. Okay, let's offer a 3 course. Or they're not full with a 3 course. Let's offer them a 7 course. Like it was mental. I mean, to say the least. In the beginning, you have to just please your audience, right? Like you just make sure that you win their hearts. You have to keep pleasing. You become this puppet for them and you keep pleasing them. And then there comes a time when they start listening to you. And it just happened very organically. It's not like, I think we were very patient. We stuck to our vision, which was really important. We didn't steer away from it. And I think that's when the diners started realizing that, we were onto something. We were serious. We were serious about, what we wanted to offer. It was a theater. It was dining and it felt like a theater. And it was an experience that didn't exist in India. So I think that because we just didn't change path and we really stuck to our vision, that finally the diners started listening to us.
How did you come to this idea that you needed to create this sort of global narrative about Indian cuisine coming out of India? Because there have been chefs who've created some kind of narrative for Indian restaurants and Indian cuisine outside of India. But I think what Mask did was bring that conversation back and back rooted into the country. So how did you come to this idea that, this needed to happen in India and it needed to happen in a certain way?
Mask was never set out to be an Indian restaurant, like in terms of the cuisine. It was set out to spotlight Indian ingredients. And I think that that's what excited us. That's what excited the team. We would go on these super adventurous trips, discovering the length and breadth of the country. And research has always sort of inspired me or fueled sort of my journey. It was really to spotlight Indian ingredients and to just discover that plethora of the availability of these ingredients in our country, I think blew our minds. It had to become a personal journey. It had to become the journey of a chef. Mm-hmm. And when Varun came on as head chef and being a total Bombay local boy, I think that his stand on Indian food was like, why should I be restricted to, one region? Like for me, India is my playground, it's my palette. I want to be drawing inspiration from north, south, east, west. And we, in 2021, we started moving more towards proudly being an Indian restaurant. Really, in 2021, we started taking pride in calling ourselves an Indian restaurant that borrowed from, traditions and regions. And we started inviting home chefs into the lab. And we sort of, changed gear again to then say that, we're a modern Indian restaurant.
When did it become part of Mask's growth strategy that you knew that you had to invest in PR in a big way, or be talking to the right people at the right time to be able to grow the story of what Mask does?
We invested in PR and marketing in a big way from the day we opened doors. Even when I was creating Mask, I made sure that I had the best architect on board because it would bring me the best mileage. Whether it had to go and get the best branding company at that point, and I worked with a company out of Spain at that point to create like the identity for Mask, and I invested in that. There has to be a lot of relatability. I need to sink into the vision. I need to sink into the storytelling, and that I think that's what I brought to the table from day one.
If you could tell us what your starting capital was, and was that all of the capital that you had, or was some of it investor capital?
So it's all self-funded, and of course I have somebody also as a silent partner who's a family member, but it's all been self-funded. I think we started out with a starting capital of about $1.5 million. That's what we started out with.
Obviously, Aditi, you were an outlier by the fact of, you moved from finance to food. You hadn't gone through culinary school or any of that. But what was the motivation to move fast, to break things, and to just be destructive and disruptive?
It's called the middle child syndrome. I'm super competitive with my kids as well. I literally make them cry, and they literally sometimes question me what sort of a mother wants to win against their children. When I knew that there was this big gap in the market, and I could grab that position, and I knew that I could take this restaurant to great heights. I think that's what made me that outlier, and it was also self-destructive in a way, but I knew I'd win.
It's interesting that you say self-destructive, because my next question is, what were the challenges with that strategy? It couldn't have been easy. Obviously, you've stressed on that before, but choosing this path, what were the challenges along the way?
I mean, there were challenges when we had no diners in the restaurant. There were a table of two and that's it. But I had a rocking catering business. And I think that maybe that's what also helped me, go through those difficult years of Mask, where literally the catering business was supporting Mask. But of course, it was depressing. I couldn't keep the team motivated enough. Of course, I had to engage them and excite them through, my pulling them into like my catering business, or travel with them and keep them engaged and inspired. There came a tipping point, especially when we came on Asia's One to Watch. I don't know, it was just crazy. I mean, people say awards are not important, but that put us on the map, and then there was no looking back. It was crazy.
The most interesting ingredients in India, I've discovered from Mask, from eating at Mask. So whether it is, fiddlehead fern from the Himalayas, whether it's seaweed forage from, some shores of Goa. Tell us about the food philosophy. Tell us about your R&D process.
I think it is the soul of the restaurant from the very beginning, where it's really about the chefs, right? And their imagination. And there has been no boundaries in terms of creativity in the kitchen. I haven't ever pulled the plug on them wanting to push the boundaries on the way they want to use the ingredients, or Mask started Mask Lab in 2018. The idea to also start Mask Lab was that we could pickle, ferment, whatever ingredients in their prime, so that we could create more longevity, to be able to use those ingredients in creative manners in the Mask menu. And a lot of it came from my own experiences, or like the team's experiences, or, recipes that they got back from like their family backgrounds, or their research, or their mother's recipes. When I was traveling with my parents when I was very young, my parents were eating polenta in Italy, and my mom suddenly pulled out methi masala from her bag, and she added it into the polenta. I was like, what are you doing, Mom? Like, that's so embarrassing. And it really changed the dish. And actually, the restaurant owner came to try it, because they're wondering what this Indian family is doing. And my mom, after that day, was exporting like 10 kilos of methi masala every month to Italy, to this restaurant.
Wow. That is insane.
There are so many personal stories that excite us on our own menus. Really, the creativity was the chefs and what they brought to the table. I don't think, of course, the value that I added was really to inspire them, or to take them on these trips, or to be part of this ideation process during the trips. But I had nothing to do with the final cooking process. As a company, or as a belief in the whole ecosystem of our company, that we believe that it's important to empower people and to sort of take them along in this journey. And you only see them excel because it's really coming from a place of ownership. Then they own the product, and I think that that's what inspires us. That's what inspires our menus.
Speaking of connecting the dots, I'm sure there's lots of synergy between the catering business and what Mask does. You're catering to these high-end consumers in Bombay, across the world when you're catering. But at Mask, I think that the strategy is slightly different, right? You're encouraging people to try new things, but with catering, you're giving them exactly what they want. So how has that helped you connect the dots in terms of your understanding of who the luxury consumer is in India and what they want?
So we had this very early on. We realized that we had a very simple formula for our catering menus, because every time we try to innovate and do something different, every customer would ask us for the same 4 ingredients on the menu. So we came up with this formula called BARTA, which became the framework of our menu. It's a burrata, avocado, truffle, and asparagus. had to feature in the menu, and then we could pad it up with stuff that we wanted to serve, and the guests still loved the food. So
Yeah.
I think if we just started out as being this innovative Indian restaurant, maybe I think we would have been compared, or people would have questioned that, we're just
Sure.
sort of not sticking to like the original recipe. And like, because it started out as a very ingredient driven restaurant, the focus was really to highlight ingredients and to be excited by, even like putting yuzu or like basically using international ingredients as well. I think that the diners liked that. They liked that could come to Mask and they could feel like they could be at a restaurant sitting in New York or in Italy or in London. They would compare it to like restaurants they've eaten and dined at globally. Over time, we realized that they wanted more flavor in the food. So we were able to, be more daring with and not so safe. And like we could start using masala in our food. And then I don't know, it all happened very organically. And now like we literally go full on with flavors, and we're really now proudly using Indian flavors the way they should be used.
According to you, then, what does the luxury Indian diner want? Is there a formula apart from butter might exist for catering, but what does the luxury Indian diner want when they come into a restaurant?
I think the Indian audience now is extremely experimental, they're extremely experiential, and COVID has really sort of helped. I mean, COVID helped us a lot. We never thought Mask could even be put in a box during COVID, and we did. And I think that because we had built that trust with the brand, people were really looking to see what Mask was innovating even during COVID. And we did some crazy experiences where we were sending, a charcoal grill at home to make a Korean meal. We ran something called the Chef's Pick. So every chef was allowed to cook what they wanted during the weekend. So diners were looking forward to, say, like, the restaurant managers' mothers making Punjabi food, and Anshaj was, curating that at the Mask menu. And we really sort of pushed the limits on creativity even during COVID. Actually, the community grew because when we were able to put Mask into a box, we were able to cater to a diner who was sitting in Andheri or beyond, and which probably never happened for them to make a trip to come to Mask. This gave them access to the brand, and to build that trust that now they will make that effort to even come twice a month to Mask. They've married into that idea. They trust the brand. They know that they're coming in for quality and experience. And I think that that's what luxury or understanding the audience became for us at Mask.
So, Aditi, what does the future of Mask look like?
To keep building what we're doing, because, it's not, I mean, as much we travel and as many collabs that we do and we expose these chefs or more people that we bring into the kitchen, we realize that we don't know enough. And I think that there is so much to explore and to constantly explore and be excited about. Every time like we talk and meet interesting people, we get excited by, say, their community or their stories, and then we want to sort of make that our new mission for exploration and for research. So I think that Mask will continue doing that and growing in that journey, but we're also looking at an international outpost for Mask.
How exciting! Wow. Okay. I'm very, very excited about that. So, Aditi, obviously, I'm very interested to understand where is the next international outpost. I'm sure the first thing everyone wants to know is where's it going to be and how far are we from it?
I mean, we're super far away from it, but we're still exploring and we're still sort of researching markets that we want to be present. I think it could be anywhere between Singapore or London.
If someone who's listening in wants to build a world-class Indian food brand, where would you recommend they start?
Being in the food world has to do it with a lot of love and passion and being heartful. My mantra as a restaurateur or entrepreneur when I feed people is that I never want to cut back or stinge on the experience. Like, if I promise X, I want to give X, Y, Z. I think that India has so much to offer and so many stories to say that one restaurant like Mask is not enough. We need so many restaurants of so many types and so many genres to really be able to give the world even a little bit of what India has to offer, because It's so inspiring. And I think that you have to build that vision. You have to create a roadmap and you have to stick with it.
So Aditi, you also mentioned that maybe Mask when it started was ahead of its time, but it seems like obviously the Indian food scene has progressed considerably in the last 7 years. So do you think that it's time for Indian cuisine to make a splash on a global stage?
I really do think, and I think that we're naive to think that it wasn't happening before, because world over, people have drawn inspiration from like Ayurveda or like South Indian food, and it was definitely happening all along. Like stories like Mask, or what like a restaurant like say a Dhamaka or Sema in New York are doing, or what Indian Accent has done, Bombay Canteen, or so many restaurants that are now making it feel like, wow, it's really having a moment globally. Indian food is one of the top 5 cuisines in the world and has been for a long period of time.
Fantastic. I agree. So we're just going to play a quick word association game. It's a rapid fire. I say a word or a term and you just answer the question very quickly. Are you ready?
I hate these rapid fires and games that you play, Smita.
Modern Indian cuisine.
Delicious.
Celebrity chef.
Daniel Home. Vicky Ratnani, I should have said. Yeah, we change it.
Fine. One pet peeve you have during service. If this happens, it really, really bothers you.
When a waiter's not looking in my direction and I'm trying to make eye contact.
One thing you wish diners stop doing.
Trying to teach us how to make the dish.
One thing you wish chefs stop doing.
I never complain. Oh no.
One piece of advice you wish somebody told you before you were starting a restaurant.
That basically I'm never going to sleep.
Final word is mask.
What's behind the black door? That's so exciting about the design of Mask. What I really love is how Ashish has this tiny black door, and then you open into this vastness, and that's really who we are as well.
Fantastic. I love that. So thank you so much, Aditi. This has been a real pleasure and an honor. I'm so excited that you came here, and it's been absolutely lovely chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time. And
no, but I'm so happy, Smita, you're finally doing this and amplifying on all our messaging.
It's really a pleasure and an honor. So thank you.
Thank you.
Like, share, and subscribe to the Big Food Energy podcast for more inspirational and important stories from the world of food.